Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, The Inside Guys. I'm Dave Roundtree,
I'm Wole Moses.
and we want to talk about what is tech sales. I know for the last 25 years, my family hasn't truly understood what I did for a living. What about you, Wole?
Unfortunately, I have to admit I'm in the same boat. Both I have lots of family and friends who know who I work for or know who I've worked for, but they didn't really understand what I did. And so probably it's my fault for not doing a great job in explaining. So hopefully in this video, we'll explain to all of you watching, as well as to my family and friends who don't understand what I've been doing, what enterprise technology sales is all about.
Stay tuned. We're going to get into this topic. So we're back and we want to talk about tech sales. Tech sales can be truly complicated. If you're not in the industry or worked in the industry, you may not completely understand all the different aspects of it behind the scenes. Well, tell me, how would you explain tech sales and maybe give us a good illustration about how we can understand it?
Yeah, I think what happens is that, as you mentioned, if you're not working in the enterprise technology space, you don't really understand it. So let me just maybe frame it like this. So most of us out there or most people out there are familiar with tech companies. And when I ask you who are some of the top tech companies, you might think about Apple because it's where you buy your iPhone and your other Apple devices. You might think about Google as a top tech company because you use Google for search. You might think about Microsoft because your PC has Windows on it, and as well as Office. You may also think about Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram as tech properties because you do your social media there. But David and I work in a completely different part of tech called enterprise technology, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
So we talk about enterprise techs. First, let's tackle the word enterprise. What is that referring to, Wale?
Enterprise, when we talk about enterprise, we're talking about businesses, large businesses, government. We're talking about the hospitals. We're talking about the schools. We're talking about any of the large organizations that exist throughout the country, throughout your cities, throughout your states.
So when you think about enterprise company, Apple is an enterprise company, but they're selling toward a company like SAP or a big company like Bank of America, right? Those large organizations are enterprises. So okay, we got that. Now think about a technology used by an enterprise. What would be an example of that?
Well, so if you think about an enterprise organization, think about it like the big organizations that exist in your city or your state, right? So think about the banks, think about the hospitals, think about the universities, think about the school systems, think about the retail stores, right? So all of those are considered enterprise organizations, and they all have technology needs. Now, when you and I need to buy some technology, we go to whether it's hardware or software, we'll go to Amazon and we'll go to Best Buy or dozens of other retail outlets to buy it. But enterprise organizations, they buy differently. And so if you think about the types of software that they need, well, they'll need financial software to manage their accounts receivables, their payrolls, their tax. They need HR software to manage their people. They need cybersecurity software to ensure they're not getting hacked. They're moving to the cloud. They need a cloud software vendor to help them do that. So the stakes are higher, the needs are more complex, and that's why enterprise technology companies like Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, Oracle, etc., exist.
Yeah, very good. I know a good way to view it as well. Enterprise company typically would make $5 billion in revenue or more, right? You start to be that well-known brand or very large revenue generating company is also an easy way to think about it because there's some companies very well known inside the industry, well above the 5 billion revenue mark, but as a consumer, you may not have dealt with them or work with them directly. So we have that aspect. Now, what we really want to get into is obviously how is a sales team or enterprise tech company made up inside as it relates to sales? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it goes back to some of the type of software that we talked about. And it's not just software, by the way, it's hardware because enterprise, any business that needs hardware, whether it's PCs or servers, again, they're not going to buy it in the same way that you and I would buy it. So they have a different way of buying software. And so since their needs are more complex, and since there is frankly lots of competition for their business, they need a more personalized way to buy. And so they don't go to the Best Buys or Amazons to get their hardware or software. Um, they buy whatever they need through relationships with enterprise software companies or enterprise hardware companies. So that is the way they buy. So it's really through a relationship that is built up over years and years, where an enterprise software company like a Microsoft or a Google or an Oracle, or SAP, Salesforce, et cetera, will establish a sales team that creates a relationship with those large organizations to understand their needs, to understand what they're trying to do as far as how they're trying to transform the business. And through that relationship, that is how enterprise technology companies sell to those organizations.
Yeah, very good. And you think about what's called an account manager with enterprise sales. That's just a person who is catering or working with a certain large company to make sure they have what they need and to understand their business need, understand their culture, understand their organization. And I almost think about it if you went into the same store to buy something all the time. Let's say it's a high end store. You go into let's say a Saks Fifth Avenue, and when you go in, you are always working with the same salesperson who knows what you like. They know your style. They know some of the things you're looking for. So you're going right to that salesperson, and that person is providing you what you need. And it's no different in tech sales, right? You have sales teams that are promoting their products, and then if you have an account manager or a sales rep, oftentimes called, they are working with you and your company because they understand your needs.
Yeah, so exactly. So really, I think the core of thinking about enterprise technology companies and how they sell to enterprise organizations is the core part of how they sell is through an account team, and the person who leads that account team is called the account manager. So that's the role that you were describing. So that account manager establishes that long-term trusted relationship with that organization where they get to understand their requirements and everything they need. And through that relationship, um, they are able to sell technology. Now, there are other parts of an enterprise sales organization as well. So the account manager is key. But then, depending on the organization, some of the names of the roles may change, but you'll have some sort of a role that is a technology specialist. So that person is a subject matter expert on one or more of the different software or different technologies that their company sells. And so the account manager typically will own the overall relationship, but when they need to talk about specific technologies and to get deep into explaining those technologies or demoing those technologies to the customer, they'll bring in that subject matter expert, the technology specialist, to go deep in those conversations. So that's typically that's a very simple description of how the sales process works when we're trying to sell to large organizations, right? So that obviously differs from how you and I would buy technology.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good way to put it. So you may say, well, I'm not a salesy person. I'm technical, right? I'm deep technical. You still can have a career in sales and be what's called a customer engineer or sales engineer or technology specialist. You can really focus on deep technology, have conversations with customers just around technology, and then that account management or account executive function, managing the relationships, that's in a different role that you don't have to deal with. So there's literally a place for everyone. Now there's a third aspect. We got the account manager, we have the technical specialist, and then talk a little bit about what it means to be a channel manager or partner channel. How does that role play in the tech sales world?
Yeah, and one thing I should we should mention is that we'll in future videos we'll cover we'll go deep on those individual roles. So we'll talk about the account manager role in a little bit more detail, and we'll actually have folks who work in that role. We'll interview them. We'll bring them on our channel. We'll talk about the customer engineer, technology specialist role. But to your question, Dave, the partner channel role. So the partner channel role is super important because in tech companies, especially larger tech companies, um, we don't employ enough people to cover the total territory of customers who we want to sell to. You just simply can't hire that many and employ that many people. And so we rely on a downstream ecosystem, often called the partner ecosystem, which is made up of resellers or system integrator companies who are literally all over the country. And they sell on behalf of the enterprise technology companies. And so through the partner ecosystem, large software, large technology companies are able to reach a breadth of customers who they typically wouldn't have access to, or they typically wouldn't be talking to, but who still need their products. And so so because of that, within tech companies, there need to be roles, there need to be people who manage the relationship with all of those with that partner ecosystem. So that actually provides another way or another sort of aspect to work in tech sales, working through in that partner ecosystem management role. And by the way, working in the partner ecosystem itself is another way to work in tech and in tech sales. And we'll get into that again in future videos to explain a little bit more about what that looks like.
So, Wole, excellent explanation. So, at the how we started off, very end of, we'll say, which aspect do you work in for your family?
So yeah, I mean, hopefully, family, friends, followers. Hopefully, that does a good job for you of explaining what the fundamental goal of this channel is, which is to get people in technical sales. So hopefully, this video explains what the heck that is, and what and how technology companies, enterprise technology companies, sell, and why they need to have a technical sales force.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work in and have worked in for a number of decades the account management or the sales role of it. I work with a counterpart, a technical counterpart. And then, Wole, what aspect are you currently working in now out of what you described?
So I work, so going back, I mean, I've worked in all aspects of technology sales myself. I've worked as part of roles where I was part of an account team and I was a subject matter expert. So the technology specialist role that we talked about earlier, and now I work in a role where I'm focused on a strategy for our account teams. And so I'm working in a leadership team role, helping our sales teams sell better and find more opportunities to grow our presence within our customer base.
Gotcha. Very good. And that's a good point. I didn't think about my past. So I've had deep technical roles in the past. I did a transition from that deep technical role from engineer to technology specialist and now an account exec. But I think we should do a session on moving from technical specialist role into account sales, and then some of those aspects and transitions as people are looking for a change in their careers. So we're going to wrap with that. Hopefully, enjoyed that session. Drop a note in the comments if you have transitioned from a technical career into sales, or if you made that transition and wondering how to get back because you prefer the technical world. Love to hear your comments and some of your experiences. And as always, stay tuned for the next Inside Guys video.
Please like and subscribe.
Don't forget that. Take care.